Welcome to the ReCHRG Podcast, Episode 3. We're your hosts. I'm Rob.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Will.
On this week's show, we're going to talk about Rott Wild's new enduro bike. We're going to talk about our best bikes. Now, there's two categories because there's dream bike. What would you buy if money was no object? And what would you buy actually in the real world with your own money? But first off, we got some stuff that is a little bit unfortunate that I've seen on social media and stuff. That's about bikes being stolen, and specifically some World Cup bikes from Nico Mullally's Frameworks racing team that was stolen just up the road from Milton Keynes. And it got me thinking about bike theft in general and actually how much more we need to do to combat it, because it absolutely sucks. These bikes are worth so much money now, and there's got to be more to be done. And I feel so sorry for that World Cup racing team and anyone that's had bikes stolen. Is bike theft a massive problem right now?
Yes, I definitely think it is. I think you've even touched on there was saying about the World Cup frames. It's like not even these top level, elite level racers who are kind of, these essentially one-off bikes are protected from being stolen. It's the thought of too hot to handle. Well, no, now nothing's too hot to handle. These are one-off bikes that are getting stolen. We had it a few years ago with Join the Union, the Santa Cruz Syndicate, not Santa Cruz Syndicate, the Santa Cruz team had all their bikes stolen at a World Cup race. These are like team bikes. So,
and I think these are high profile because they are the World Cup teams' bikes that are getting stolen, but it happens all of the time. But for anyone that doesn't know, Will, give us a recap of what actually happened with these World Cup bikes.
Yeah, so I think, correct me if I'm right, I think maybe you know slightly more than I do, but they had a big white van and they went into a hotel, and all of the bikes, I think quite a lot, some of their Frameworks race bikes, the downhill bikes, some S-Works Turbo Levos, I think they were.
Yeah, they're supported e-bike side of things through Specialized.
And I think the van got stolen, didn't it?
Yeah, the van got taken.
Also, they basically didn't just break into the van, they stole the entire van.
Took the whole van,
with the bikes in.
Took the whole van, but, in the wonderful day and age we're in, there was trackers, AirTags, whatever it might be.
In the bikes or in the van?
In the van at some point, I
Right.
believe. And I think that they relocated the van, but it had been ripped into, bikes taken out, still equipment left in, which is pretty good. But
the majority of the stuff was sadly stolen.
And race bikes. And that's a winning race bike, right? That was just off the back of Asa Vermadet. I can't pronounce his name properly. But the young US rider who won the juniors. First race season, and bam, your bike's stolen. Like, I don't know if that's ironic or not.
It's so sad, actually. Like, they come to the UK, teams from all over the world, and Milton Keynes is it's all right, It's not like as a place. I say that with respect. I mean, you wouldn't think I'm going to Milton Keynes. Oh, be careful. It's got F1 teams there. It's the base of Red Bull Racing, and
it's home to Madison, who are the Shimano UK distributors, and loads of other things. Trek bikes used to be, well, I think it's maybe in the point of exiting, but were based around there. It's got cycling community there. It's a hub, and yet everyone's taken. And funnily enough, there's kind of been a chain of them. There's been a chain of bike shops that have had attacks from what seems like these calculated thefts, especially in this area, around Surrey and Sussex, which is a shame.
Yeah.
This is what I wonder about the Frameworks theft. Do you think that was targeted, or do you think they got super lucky in picking just a random white van, looked inside, and it's got all these 10 grand bikes?
I don't think. I assume the van was like it had no windows in the back and
it's
stuff.
got no decals on either, nothing like that. Like
just
no race. It's just a bog standard van, I think.
Pretty sure it's a rental. They've come over from the US.
Then it's got to have been like a targeted thing, hasn't it? I think maybe. Right. So here's the thing, right? With bikes now, most of them, many bikes, especially high-end bikes, are more expensive than motorcycles.
They're more expensive than all the cars I purchased.
Right, they're a lot of money.
by a fair bit.
So top end, I don't know what these Frameworks bikes are worth, but they're basically racing prototypes with Fox factory. All the components on them are, but the sentimental value to Nico and the team, and the fact that they got to go to Poland in a week, or they're on their way or whatever to race, and I don't know, all that logistics stuff
Yeah.
aside, they're really expensive bikes. And the thing with bikes is that they are, unlike motor vehicles like motorcycles, there's no real database for like a VIN number. There's no registration on them. So and these things are worth so much money, but there's a distinct lack of structure to kind of protect them or even recover them.
How do you to some degree? And the thing is, you can lift up a bike, even your heaviest e-bike, your Poly, for example, really heavy, 26, 25 kilos, whatever.
Standard kind of heavy, big travel e-bike weight.
I'm not used to it. I like these short travel lightweight bikes. But the argument is, you're still lifting up a bike that's, you can't lift up a car.
It's easy to steal. Yeah,
you
basically.
can chuck it in the back of your car.
Yeah.
And
You
arguably
can't lift up a car.
You can't.
What, you speak for
there's
yourself?
people out there.
Speak for yourself, bro.
But there's definitely there's a point in which, the irony of you're spending more money to get a lightweight bike and it's in theory easier to steal. It seems crazy, but there's more bikes coming with tracking now. And there is an argument to say that, Nico Mullally and the Frameworks team are in a better position than most other people would be in terms of envy have really pulled out, and they've got their whole new wheel sets being built in the US as we speak. They had some spare frames. They've got support of brands and sponsors, which,
the average
Joe
punter on
won't.
the street does not have
Yeah.
that. They have
They have a hole in their garage and a whole load of tears, and
Yeah.
it's like losing a child.
I
probably
don't
a
know
bit
if you
extreme.
guys have had a bike stolen, but I have, and it was locked at the station with a proper what I thought at the time, I don't know, 10 years ago, was an adequate lock to lock up at a station with CCTV on it. And I came home from work one day and it had gone, and I reported it, and it was, I was gutted, man, because this was my mode of transport to get to the station and get to work, and I used it every now and again and for like social riding, and I felt like, I don't know, it was like someone had really personally insulted me by taking this bike. It wasn't the fact that the bike was gone, that was really annoying, and this was from the train station, so I can only imagine what it feels like for somebody that's had a van broken into, or worse, like a garage or a house broken into. And I did some research for this, but on the Office of National Statistics, it shows the type of area that the bikes were stolen from. Was it like on the public place, but the majority of them are private places, private property in the evening at night. And it just goes to show, people are storing them indoors and locking them up in sheds and things, and they're still being stolen.
There was a big insurgence of before Strava allowed you to do kind of hiding visibility. There was always there was like a surge of people going, oh, well, I can see where they start their ride from and where they end for their ride from. And Strava puts out the statistics of, oh, you're riding your top end Pinarello or your high end S Works or whatever. And you're kind of advertising it to some degree. But touch wood, I can say I've never had a bike stolen. Well,
no, me neither. But I'm super careful now, with the Strava stuff that you mentioned. You can set the radius where it goes around. It won't show your home, basically, right?
You're talking to the wrong person. I don't use Strava, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I've got a drawer behind me for anyone that's listening, but there are things that are happening, and I was just going to try and show you what's in the drawer. That's the reference to it. It's a little Bosch GPS module. So I think there's a real responsibility, maybe, or there's something that the manufacturers of the bikes could do to make this, I don't know, these bikes less easy to steal, easier to recover, maybe. And e-bikes now, they've got big batteries in, they're 10-gram bikes and stuff. There's no excuse not to have some kind of tracking that could be built into it. I put AirTags in the frames personally, and it's not perfect because it relies on it connecting to an iPhone somewhere, but it's better than nothing, I think. But lots of things now have got this Find My stuff built into them. Bosch are doing these GPS Connect modules that go into the bikes, and you can track them wherever they are. You have to pay a subscription after the first year, and the module is like 80 quid.
I think it's about 90 actually. But again, fitting it can be awkward.
Yeah, and it doesn't work in all frames either.
Yeah, exactly, because it's an extra part on the motor itself. But a lot of brands are actually fitting them as standard. Well, a few brands are fitting them as standard, and it's things like Grape had a really great system straight off the bat for security. I mean, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of their original frame design with the battery in the middle, but their security system and the way it worked, it took a photo of the person who took your bike potentially.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got onboard cameras and
That's
stuff like that.
Bit like the Tesla, it basically triggers it when you get near it, and it will record who's around the car, so you could see who's stealing your bike.
Who is
basically.
Grape? What is Grape?
Huh?
What's Grape?
Greyp. They're a bike brand that they're Croatian.
So you know Rimac, the car brand.
Yeah.
So it's the same company.
Is it?
The owner of Rimac, Mate Rimac, started the bike company Grape,
Cool.
and the factory was just opposite the Rimac factory, and that's where they built the bikes in Croatia. The Rimacs look amazing. Grapes less so, shall we say? Fair to say?
No, so I'd argue to say that the new one with the Fizzur motor is much more like a typical bike design and looks pretty good. The old ones, questionable.
Are they as fast as a Rimac?
No.
No.
I think there was some that could overclock. Anyway, we're kind of getting off topic. But the thing that gets me is like, even if you've got means of tracking, even with the Grape, you get a photo of the person who takes your bike. Doesn't that just make you even more angry? If you don't get it recovered, you're just like, oh, now I know the guy who took my bike or the person or whatever it might be.
I'd rather see who had actually been responsible for committing such a heinous crime. I'd like to see who did it personally. But
you think the responsibility of this stuff should be with the manufacturers?
Well, look, they're building bikes that are £10,000 in many instances, that are highly desirable, that there is a frame number built into it that is basically useless because you can put it on an insurance, a database, and then if it's ever recovered, it can be tracked back to the owner. But there's no like prevention there, is there? It's just in case it happens, you've got a reference number. Whereas the prevention thing, I think, is definitely something that there is a responsibility on the manufacturer to maybe take some steps towards prevention. And that might be by pre-installing them with GPS modules. So because I think what happens with the bikes that get stolen is they get stashed somewhere just in case they've got trackers in them.
I disagree.
Do you not think that's what happens?
So I was just on a flight back. I was actually on the taxi back from, I think it was Eurobike or something like that. I was Rivadel Garda Festival last year. Really good festival. On the way back, and I was chatting to...
A bike thief.
Just your average bike thief. No. I was chatting to a taxi driver on the way home, and he was like, what do you do? And I was like, I work with e-bikes. And you kind of going down a rabbit hole of someone who's not necessarily in the bike industry, kind of explaining what you're doing. But he's like, I used to have an e-bike, and he was Romanian. And he bought an e-bike in Romania from a market, brought it back to the UK, was using it, whatever, and then he was out in Romania. He got contacted by the police. They came to his door and they're like, you've got a stolen bike, because it had a tracker on it from a guy in the UK, from London, who tracked it to there. Luckily, his work colleague had contact in the Bulgarian police, the Romanian police, got there, spoke to the guy, and he was like, funnily enough, I recorded the whole thing on my GoPro. Why he recorded a full transaction of him walking around this market and buying an e-bike for super cheap. But he did, and he proved that he didn't buy it.
Wow.
He didn't know it was stolen. And he said, I work in London as a taxi driver. And can you speak to the owner of it? I'm happy to drive it back when I go back to the UK, and hand it to him. And he did hand it to him. But so it sounds like a lot of these bikes, e-bikes, whatever it might be, that are potentially too hot to handle in the UK, just get taken straight out of the country and sold for next to nothing somewhere else in another country.
But there's an example of it being successfully recovered. I wonder what tracking device it had in it.
AirTag.
It was an AirTag.
AirTag, yeah.
Wow. And the AirTags are like £30?
30 quid, yeah.
30 quid?
A couple issues with them I say issues because they're trying to fix the problems where they've been used negatively with like stalking, aren't they? So they've put in some anti-stalker features which are actually not that great for bike theft.
So you could like slip it into someone's coat pocket if you wanted to track where they are or something. I think it gives you an alert if something's...
It says you've got an AirTag near you.
Yeah.
And you can let it beep as well. So if a thief has an iPhone and there's an AirTag in the bike they have, it will tell them, and you can make it make the noise so they can find it.
Yeah.
But you can be sneaky. With mine, I've taken the battery out of the AirTag. Not the battery, sorry, the speaker that makes the beeping. So you wouldn't be able to.
High-tech guy
Yeah, I know.
breaking open Apple products and
The thing with
modding them.
AirTag is it was never designed to be used as like a tracking device for stolen goods. It's kind of the thing that you're supposed to put in your wallet and like on
lose
your
your
keys, and
keys,
that's and I think people have realized actually they can be used for like as a security feature. But it is like there is a massive opportunity for, I don't know who it is, some kind of consortium of brands to come together and add some kind of GPS, or with the Bosch stuff you can brick it, can't you, or you can make it that it won't turn on.
Bosch
at
have
least.
nailed it. Bosch, they've kind of created a standard. Adding extras is fine, but it's got a radius, it's got an alarm, it's got
And it's got a
lock
built-in
system.
GPS in it, hasn't it? So it doesn't rely on anything else.
No, you
like
don't need
being
a SIM
connected.
card or anything like that. It
Is
goes
that
through
all of them, all the Bosch bikes.
No, Gen 4 onwards, you can attach this Connect module, and it's called e-bike security or e-bike in the Flow app. It all comes by default available as like a firmware update, but you need to have the Connect module. For example, a lot of Canyons will include it as standard, any Bosch motor. I think generally the newer Bosch motor Gen 4 bikes will come with it as standard. Rob's doing a bit of digging to see if he can find the Connect
I
module.
do actually have one. Here it is, just here. So this is that is the Bosch Connect module, and it goes onto the bottom of the Bosch motor. So it's quite small.
It's probably the length of your finger and a width of 2 fingers.
Yeah, quite small, quite neat, fairly lightweight. But to your point, it doesn't fit in all bikes, all Bosch bikes. There needs to be enough space at the bottom of the casing for it to fit into. And I think it's great that like Canyon include this in all of their e-bikes. So when you buy, well, say all of them, like the Strive certainly has it, but the Bosch, a lot of the Bosch bikes, that it comes with this. And that was a surprise when I got the Strive. I was really pleased to see that.
If you didn't know it was there, like I didn't know it was there initially, and I was looking over it and I didn't see it. And as soon as you connect to the Flow app, it kind of gave you the option. And I think without knowing it was there, so without making a specific point of knowing it had been fitted, it looks very cohesive in the design of the motor. Like it just looks like another part of the motor. You wouldn't go, oh, that's a Bosch GPS module. Whilst if you saw an AirTag, you're like, that's an AirTag.
Yeah.
Like, beeping at me wildly.
And to get to it, it's not like a quick thing. You need to, a lot of the bikes you have to unscrew. You need to take at least the skid plate off the bottom. And I think and it all integrates into the app, the Bosch Flow app, really well. So I think that is an amazing start to stopping. Like obviously it's working on e-bikes because there's a main battery built into the e-bike. And then even if the e-bike battery is removed, that's got its own battery that actually charges from the main e-bike battery. So it's really smart. Like the tech in it is really good.
And there's aftermarket ones now. There's an aftermarket company that does a very similar thing, but it's just something you fit externally and you have to pay a subscription for again. I think that one uses a SIM card, off the top of my head. And then you got like the NOG, which is essentially an AirTag Find Me system, but with an alarm.
The NOG?
Yeah, NOG, KNOG, the NOG Scout. But the problem with that one is that's like, they want you to know it's there. You put it on your bottle cage, but it's so blaringly obvious it's there. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's a deterrent rather than, yes, it will track. But I think it's that screen, you can set it to alarm and when it gets moved and all the rest of it. The problem is I don't think that's going to stop someone. And who's to say you're an earshot away from your bike? All of these measures,
People don't
and even
care
you get
when
the
alarms-
GPS, you know where your bike is, but it all relies on the authorities being able to do something or caring enough. And I think maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but in the UK it feels like with the state of the police maybe is that's not a high priority, and if they know you have insurance for it, there's less drive to go and put themselves in danger to go and recover a bicycle. It
is very low priority. It's there's no immediate risk to life really. Once the bike's been stolen, that event has taken place. It's very difficult to retrieve, but there are many success stories. Will, what did you think of that thing, by the way?
I thought it was quite heavy and I'd probably take it off for weight reduction.
Would you?
No, definitely not.
Right, the ReCHRGD Podcast is sponsored by The Electric Bike Shop, the e-bike specialists. They've been selling e-bikes since 2017 from their first store in Bristol. And since then, they've rapidly grown from that single shop to now 10 stores across the UK, with more planned for 2024. The electric bike shop supply a host of major e-bike brands, plus a ton of parts and accessories in stock. The electric bike shop are highly reviewed by real customers, and they've achieved an excellent status on Trustpilot.com with hundreds of reviews. They offer free UK delivery, highly competitive pricing with price matching. They take part in the Cycle to Work scheme, and they carry literally thousands of e-bikes in stock for quick delivery. They also offer test rides where you can get hands-on with the bike so you can try different sizes. There's really nothing like getting on a bike and trying out the size for real to make sure you get the right bike size for you. So check them out at theelectricbikeshop.co.uk, where you can see the range, or you can even book a test ride direct from their website at one of their 10 nationwide stores. Thanks again to the Electric Bike Shop for sponsoring the ReCHRGD podcast. Pass it here. Let's actually weigh it.
She is quite heavy.
I've got another great example of theft, especially because when I was working at YT, we did an event in Scotland, and we had a load of our bikes stolen out of a van. Same sort of situation as the frameworks team. What's the weight?
If you guess the weight, you can get a prize.
Do I get that?
You get this if you can guess the weight to the gram.
31 grams. No, 28.
Look at the size of it.
Okay, 183.
No.
No, it's actually it's only 54 grams.
I wasn't. We were somewhere in the middle. I was quite far.
It's like a banana skin or something. It's really light.
What? That's so. Why would you say
your point of
banana skin?
reference?
I ate a banana earlier and the skin didn't feel very heavy. So, and it's the
Bag of
weight.
sugar, banana skin.
The weight is distributed low because it's by the bottom bracket. So
low sprung mass.
But would you take a 54 gram weight penalty to be able to have a 24/7 tracker on your bike?
Yeah.
And an alarm and a way of deactivating your bike remotely.
Yeah. And it's
Pretty
quite cool because you can even set a little radius, like a fence, I believe, around your house. So if it's unlocked and it moves outside of a certain radius. So for example, your partner, your family were likely to move your bike inside into a different place, especially me, because you're taking up too much room with your bikes. That gives them the ability to move it without it suddenly screaming at you, and you might be in your, away, and you get a call from your partner going, "Your bike's screaming at me, and I don't know what to do." So they've thought of it's really cohesive. Like everything works, and it can be really well customized to suit your lifestyle. And it's also applicable. It's not just e-mountain bikes. It's, they've thought about it from a
Sorry, which
commuter
one's
aspect. The Bosch
Oh,
motor.
the Bosch one,
just
yeah.
in the Bosch unit is like, they've thought about it from a commuter perspective, road cyclist, mountain bike. I just thought it's really well thought out.
Yeah. So that is only Bosch. So we've still got Shimano, Yamaha, Bros, Specialized Motors. There's all the other brands that could take a kind of leaf from Bosch's book and maybe, start adding some of this stuff, because like statistically 77,000 bikes on average were stolen in the UK over the past 5 years, every year. 77,000 a year. That's 210 per day get stolen. Jeez. And arguably the value of those bikes has risen over the past. I don't know about your insurance premium, but my car insurance is probably all bundled together. But like my car insurance premium's gone up, my house insurance premium's gone up, and maybe this is contributing to it slightly. 77,000 bikes a year.
It's a crazy number.
It's a big number, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just think the general cost and the general value of bikes has come up. It may, for argument's sake, that total number of bikes may have actually dropped over the years, but I think the total value has increased. And I think what it is there's a lot less just like street theft. It's a lot more like targeted thefts. Like I was just saying before we went to the weight thing, is when I was working at YT, we got a load of bikes stolen in Scotland when we were doing an event. We had security for the whole event, and it was only on the last day when we left. They broke into the van. It was like 16 bikes stolen. But really good is that there's means of finding them back. And we had a person, we wouldn't sell them a charger for an e-bike because we're a direct sales brand unless we had the serial number of the bike. We find out the serial number, turns out it's a stolen bike, have the address and phone number, everything relating to this guy, hand it to the police, and we don't get anything back because the insurance paid up.
Yeah, Yeah, it is sad. And going back to the point right at the beginning that the bikes are now often worth more than motorcycles in many cases. So, yeah, I guess something needs to be better, like from prevention to tracking to recovery to the way the police deal with it. The police thing's quite a difficult thing because there's a whole myriad of things that they have to deal with as well. But I think from prevention. But there are some good stories that I've seen online. People on EMTB forums have reported like a year and a half later, they've got a phone call out of the blue saying their bike has been recovered. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I had an email from somebody saying, Rob, I've just signed up to your forum. I've got a bike that this guy's reported missing. I'd like to get in contact with the owner.
No way. That's amazing.
For sure, yeah.
That's like true hero stories.
Yeah, so yeah, he private messaged the guy and said, look, I've got your bike. It's the same one. It checks out. I saw the pictures that you posted. Wow. So I don't know the whole story behind how he got it, but it's a nice story.
Did you say a nice story?
It's a dream story.
Oh.
Well, even like that. So you mentioned about recovery, prevention, and all the different stages in terms of getting it back, and it kind of sparked something in mind. There's a company called Backpedal, who are UK, London based, I think they are, but they essentially take matters into their own hands. So you pay a subscription, which gives you a GPS tracker and data for your bike. Mm-hmm. But it's managed by these guys, and there's ex-policemen, ex-security guards, and they will recover your bike for you. Not in violent means. I know this sounds really
so
dodgy.
Hold on,
like
the heavies go in.
Vigilante justice. Some guys knock on the door with
like
a machete.
the A-team.
Yeah, like e-bike recovery A-team. But it's aimed at e-bikes, and it's specifically like they've liaised with the police apparently. So there's like a whole, they've got a whole setup in terms of recovery, so it's not like they're going to go around there and rough up the guy as much as you want them to, but they have a whole setup where they go and recover it for you, and they've got stories, and here we go, they've got basic, standard, and advanced kind of levels. But it's 24/7 theft reporting hotline, boots on ground recovery, recovery guaranteed for the middle standard setup. So the basic is £2.99 a month or £79.
£2.99
a month, yes.
Ooh. So maybe we could stage this and review it. Will, you could steal the bike.
Why me? wait, hold on a minute.
You can steal the bike. I'll get a demo bike that you can steal and bury it or something in the garden.
Bury it?
Whoa, this is going full CSI.
And let's watch the A-team rock up at your house.
I mean, do they say guaranteed? So
here we go. So breakdown. So the breakdown of it is you've got your £2.99 a month, £79 off one-off fee, which is you get theft assistance, you have your one-off GPS tracker, your GPS data is free, and you get 24/7 theft recovery assistance. Then you go to the £7.49 a month, the standard setup, which gets you everything that one does, but boots on the ground recovery.
Wow, I'm interested.
Jason Statham.
Our network of ex-police recovery agents hit the streets to find your bike. Whoa, hit the streets. Strong wording. And then recovery guarantee in a standard service. So if we can't recover your bike, we will refund your Backpedal payments, including any tracker fees and up to 5 years of subscriptions.
Yeah,
so it's a win-win situation if we test it.
Yeah, what about the bike?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit sad.
So basically, if your bike gets stolen, if they don't get your bike back with the boots on the ground, they give you your money back. Will, are you up for this?
No, because your bike's still stolen. But
I
will steal the
haven't
bike
even got to the top one, advanced level. Because that is everything the standard one gets you, but backup insurance by Sundays. So if we can't recover your bike, you can claim on our backup insurance policy. So you add yourself insurance policy. They basically add it for an extra £2 a month, something like that.
So they cover the value of your bike. So okay.
So that's the top level one.
This is not an advert, by the way, but what are they called? Because I've never heard of this.
Backpedal.co is the website. So Backpedal, I found out about them probably about 6 months ago, and their website's come on a lot. And I think that they're in the mind of, I think if this gets big enough, then there'll be kind of an official means, and maybe it's the case that they partner with brands, whatever, maybe that's the avenue we go down where you have these private security companies.
I mean, it seems pretty extreme, to be honest with you, but it sounds pretty badass as well, doesn't it?
How many bikes are stolen a year?
77,000.
So it's not like it's short on work.
Sometimes, I don't know if you remember, that sometimes they're pretty ruthless with the thefts as well. Do you remember there was one in Forest of Dean like 2 years ago where they pushed a guy down a hill.
What?
And took his bike, yeah.
Because I thought, I'd say YT a lot, but YT got their full demo fleet stolen Forest Dean. When I was at Canyon, they had vans broken into. Forest Dean is like a real hot spot for bikers.
So it was just a guy riding along, and they just pushed him off down a hill and then stole his bike.
Is he all right?
And luckily, it was okay. Yeah, but there was like a big thing, and also things just like I remember one of the it's not EWS now. What is it called instead? EWS.
ADR.
I think it was in Scotland or something last year. Specialised pro rider William Brodie got his bike stolen from down at the pit area.
Yep.
Like some people just took it.
Yeah, it feels like there's this untouchedness, so this untouchable feeling to these thieves. Because like I said, I've noticed a lot in the local area. It's seeing propane in Crawley getting taken stuff from. There's loads of shops. Even down to MB Cyclery, who are based in Hazelmere. They're Brendan Fairclough's generally his shop to go to, and he had his 2018 Rampage bike, or I can't remember what it was, custom one-off, and that got stolen.
Yeah,
and you're like, that's there's one of them, and it's pretty loud colorways.
It'd be pretty easy to just paint strip it and sell it in a different country, wouldn't it?
Yeah, take the forks off too. But that, again, like that's the means. But people know that if they take a bike, they're going to sell it. Whereas, we're not talking about low-level petty thieves. These are people knowing they're going in and out. They go in, they will break it. They scout the places out. They cut them open. They go in bike shops.
They cut who open?
No, they're like windows, shutters, doors, anything like that. They go in and they're really, really calculated. They go in, they know what bikes are taking in and out, and then they go. Never
just
seen again.
Just that they target the highest value. They've already researched which ones to take. It's sickening, isn't it? Talking about racing, did any of you watch the World Cup, the first World Cup this weekend?
How?
Well, honestly, when you say how, it was okay. I would consider myself as a cycling enthusiast, cycling fan. Cycling
enthusiast.
I mean, I'm into the industry and everything that's happening, and I found it really difficult to find out how you actually watch it. And we did speak about this last week, so I put it on my Instagram story, and a few people said you've got to sign up for Discovery Plus, which I did. And it was like $6.99 per month. I was like, brilliant, I'm in. I've got Discovery Plus. I'm going to have all the racing. And I went on the Saturday. I had some time spare, and I could see on like Pink Bike and stuff. It's going to be live timing, then the semi-final, and then the Sunday, the following day, the final would be on. So I was like, right, let's watch them. Put it on, nothing. I was like, where is it? I've paid my $6.99, whatever. Like, I should have access to it. But there was nothing on Saturday at all. So there's 100 and...
Oh, hold on.
Go on. Yeah. That's exactly how I felt. So I was like, okay, well...
Saturday wasn't main race day. Saturday was
the qualifying.
Yeah.
So the qualifying and semi-finals. So get this right. It goes from 150-ish riders to 30 that appear in the final. So you only get to see the 30 riders out of the 150 best riders in the world, like on TV. Yes. Like for the rank 31 to 150 in the world, the elite of the elite, they get no airtime, no coverage. So if you're a privateer team and you're taking part in the F1 of the cycling world, and you're sponsored by some great cool companies from across the world, they get nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, the reason I said how initially was because I watched most of it on anything on the day. I was watching through Instagram, just clips, stuff that UCI were putting up on their Instagram feed or like little YouTube bits.
I thought you were going to say an illegal stream for a second, because did you see in the Pink Bike comments? I think someone posted an illegal stream in there.
Does that show this? It surely doesn't show anything
No,
more.
we don't support these type of.
You were curious, but you didn't click.
No, I didn't click it. Oh no, definitely
just malware.
Yeah, maybe.
No, but that was just the normal race that was just Discovery Plus race coverage, just pirated, right?
I don't know. I didn't click it.
So I'm assuming yes, because like there's no other way to watch the semi-finals. So
imagine if you had a pirate independent media company that was going out there recording the whole thing and streaming it live.
Well, like a YouTuber, like just like sending someone.
True.
But I was
That'll
like,
make it sound so much cooler.
How can you not have something for the top 31 to 150 riders to showcase their effort and all of their practice and their dedication and the sponsors. And so one of the reasons I was trying to follow it is because the Pollet factory race team were competing there. Dan Slack, Oni were competing. And I thought, oh, cool, it'd be really good to watch them and see how they get on. And there was nothing. So again, we had to go to a Teletext style website to get the results and the live timing. And I was like, there's got to be a better way than this.
It's like fill in the blanks, isn't it? When you're reading it, you're going, I can't really be on the edge of my seat, but I'm trying to imagine this all as it needs to be. And like you said, I think nowadays, maybe it's a curse of how Red Bull allowed greater coverage of more riders beforehand, but you like you said, you align with a rider, or like you want to see Preston or something, you want to see your mates. But unless they're top 30, you're not getting anything. And it's kind of like you need to do that fan service to the wide array. And, you've got top level riders, like George Brannigan, some people are really, really interested in seeing these top level riders who might not make it in that race, but they might have a heater of a run or crashed or whatever. It just feels like you're not doing the riders a service.
So what did they, because I watched a YouTube live stream, was that the day before in like the junior something?
To be fair then, the juniors I think was broadcast live.
Yeah.
So
and that was on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
And was the women's no, the women's was not broadcast live. So it's just the juniors that were broadcast live. So there was some, to be fair, but to watch the elite men and the elite women in anything other than the final was impossible. You couldn't watch it.
And even then, maybe I'm just tight and skeptical. But you're paying $6.99 for a Discovery Plus app subscription. What else do you want to watch on there? Is it just to watch the? I mean, you might end up watching other things, but you've gone in there with one purpose in mind. Is that justified?
It's a lot cheaper than like football, for example. Like getting Sky Sports.
I don't mind the money.
But
I don't think it's like
no, but more like you is it just being funneled into using the Discovery app? You only want one thing out of it. Can you not get people to pay per race, like a pay-per-view kind of thing? Because I don't want to pay for a Discovery monthly subscription if I'm only going to use it for the one thing I want to watch on there. But
I mean, it's you no doubt are contributing to other things, but I don't think $6.99.
Not crazy.
I mean, it's like, it's an inner tube or whatever.
No, but $6.99.
But I think
for one race a month, maybe one couple races a month.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
I think like at least show the semi-finals, maybe some tech talks, like get the riders that didn't quite make the live final, like get them featured in it, like give some more value to the teams that are competing and to the viewer. I was just a bit like, oh, I thought like the idea of it going to Discovery was you're going to get $6.99, you're going to get way more.
You're going to get F1 coverage. You're going to get Eurosport Discovery level coverage for for a much more mainstream audience in theory. But regardless, it's a good race though.
Oh, it's wicked. Like, the actual race was good. Yeah, so good. I cannot believe that over a 4-minute track, there was 1.5 seconds between first and second.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Bruni and Troy Brosnan.
Yeah.
One or whatever it was. I'm pretty sure it was very, very close. And then between the top 5...
1.8.
What was it between the top 5?
So from Lucas Shaw in 5th place was 3.679 seconds up from Bruni.
That's insane.
Bruni's just
crazy.
Incredible to watch, and he's so smooth.
And
he
just jumped,
through.
1.8 second lead on Brosnan. That's quite big.
But and everyone else, Finn Isles.
It's a lot smaller in terms of Finn Isles and Brosnan than it is with Bruni. But to be honest, the women's racing, Valley coming back first run of the season, first race of the year, and she smashed it on the new tours. And you've got Nina, and like again, if we're talking 3 years ago, it was always like Pom Pom and Tiny Seagrave and Camille Blanche. But now Nina Hoffman seems to really, really be pushing. Like since she's been on Santa Cruz, amazing to watch. So
So what's that new choose?
Tuez.
Tuez.
The Tuez Mark IV. Tuez means do it. That's the story behind it. Yeah, there you go. The new Tuez Mark IV. I was sounds bad.
Didn't look that different, did it?
Exactly. I looked at it and went, oh.
Because didn't they use the neoprene cover to cover up lights? And
same with them in Canyon, and everyone's like, oh, is it neoprene season?
But what were they actually covering up then?
It's got the MX, so mullet to 29 flip chip, so you can change the rear end. It had just a few little different design tweaks around that.
Do we think neoprene's just like the thing you do when you're about to release something new?
Prototyping.
Yeah, like no one would have noticed that other than the fact they've put neoprene on it. Now it's like, oh, look at what they're trying to hide. It's the Streisand effect, isn't it?
I genuinely think so. Whitey kind of say we retain strong in our DNA throughout the range, and there's a lot of Santa Cruz are a great example of this. All their frames pretty much look the same apart from the downhill bikers. It's just kind of like different version travels of the frame. So it's like that's their core DNA. But I was a bit kind of like, oh, okay, there's not a huge amount different with it. Whilst the Canyon had a lot look like it was quite a big difference in terms of its look.
Thinking back to that Truez, now we're talking about it, like that has literally been the same since like
Hello?
2015.
I'm so sorry. Hello? 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 Oh, it's so annoying. There he goes, my frame.
That's the worst feeling. It's watching someone drive off with your things that they haven't delivered.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. I've been waiting for that. I went actually to collect it this morning, but they'd already loaded it onto the van. I'm so gutted. I've been waiting for a delivery all morning. I went to collect it and they're like, oh, we've just loaded it on the van. And he's just left. He's gone. No. Anyway, sorry, what were we talking about? So Rott Wild have released a new bike, and I got to say, the front of it looks kind of traditional. The rear chainstay looks pretty funky. It's got like that curved chainstay, but the specs on it look really decent. Long travel, race bike, 820 watt-hour battery. Is this the year of the bigger batteries? That's an interesting one. 820.
Is this not the year of the lightweights?
It's the year of the lightweights, but also the heavier weights getting bigger batteries, I think. Like everyone wants a bigger battery. I say everyone, lots of people want a bigger battery. Big batteries sell bikes.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think people don't want to run out of power. Like even if you're on a lightweight bike, if you've got the ability to have as much battery as possible, you just don't want to have that fear of running out. It's that cake and eating it. But I think the bike looks incredible. I think it's quite a different.
So talk us through the bike and the specs.
So a few little interesting things. It's like fully carbon frame, like everything but the rocker link by the looks of things. It's a pretty solid spec. It's got a huge, massive swing arm with so that's a chainstay, and it's still got a seat stay as well. But really interesting is you can choose a range of different travels. So you can go 145, 150, 160 mil travel on the rear with a 170 fork pairing. It's got mixed wheel size, so mullet setup. But that changing of travel on the rear is a really interesting point for different race circumstances.
So it can run on the rear either 145, 150, or 160 travel.
Huge. It's epic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's 3 different travel configurations. I'm reading through the press release. I joked with you because it said the bike features a UDH. And I was like, well, what's so revolutionary about that?
You went full journo and just read the first buzzworthy sentence.
I stopped there and I was like, you cannot put that in a news article because every bike from the last few years has a UDH. But you rightly stopped me and said, hold on, read the next part, which basically, I think that's quite unique because it's a UDH, but you can actually change the chainstay length.
So it's like a ovalized space with a little space, or like a spacer in there to push it forwards or backwards. But that's 5 mil difference front and rear. The forwards or backwards that's great.
So you can go like what, center or +5 or -5?
No.
Just
it's
5
2
in
positions,
total.
so it's just 5. Yeah, it's 5 either way. So I guess and the chainstay lengths. You're not a big fan of this, are you? Though. Rob?
What?
Chainstay length on this bike is 436. It's a really tight chainstay. So
436.
And so you get
short.
You'd either get 436 or 441, I believe, with that flip chip position change, that chainstay length. Now,
who needs a chainstay length of 436? How are you going to climb anything on that without the front lifting it? I don't know. To me, that seems really short.
I didn't think you could make an e-bike chainstay that short. I thought, like, how are you going to fit a 27.5-inch rear wheel or 29-inch rear wheel potentially in that space?
That is very short.
Might be fun bike though, playful.
Yeah, but it's a race bike.
And it's got 63.3 degree head angle. That is slack as.
It's not as slack as this Canevo that I've just let you ride, let you borrow.
But what's the head angle on that?
61.9.
Bro, it's crazy. We were riding it at Swindley yesterday and it felt like the head tube was going to snap in
What
half.
have you done?
I just mulleted it and 29'd it. So I was curious to try it with a mullet, and I measured the
So
head
29
angle
on the front when it was originally 27 and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, so you brought up the front end and lowered the back
and
end.
the 29 fork. Yeah. So it's 61. I mean, I'm interested.
61 degrees.
I'm talking about 63.3 being a bit like, oh, that's pretty out there. 61.
61.9. 62, call it.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think this is a really cool bike. I think like the fact that it's a race specific bike is quite an interesting thing. You know, like the fact that if you look at the EDRE, and we've just talked about racing, it doesn't get great coverage. I think a lot of it is like marketing.
Does it get any coverage now? Like,
Not any live coverage.
okay.
I think even race results aren't live. I think you just get post. You must.
Is racing dead? Is like racing as we know it, like World Cup racing?
No, because World Cup's popping off on social media and everything. It's just
Look at you, like Gen Z popping off on
Sorry,
social media.
bro.
No, I'm joking.
No, but it is on social media. You see it all the time. But to actually watch it, like, I don't know, because we've already discussed how difficult it is to watch elite level World Cup downhill racing. But when we get to elite level enduro racing, like EDR, arguably e-bikes are the biggest thing in the market right now. That's where a lot of the R&D is going in. How can you watch it?
No.
So you can't even watch it.
And
Okay.
I'm just looking. I was going to say, interesting fact of the day. How many riders do you think there are actually in a typical EDR race? God,
100?
100? What total women and men?
No, 150?
Total. What do you reckon? What's the number?
4?
4. What,
Too far off? Less? 3? No.
Keep going.
2? Sorry.
Lower. No. Whew. No, there's 36 this year. 36 men and
36?
9 women.
9?
And that's it.
So hold on. So in the opening round of the biggest enduro event in the world, there's 36.
This is for
Men.
e-bikes
The
specifically.
e-bike, yeah. Which is arguably the biggest category in the world, e-bikes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming once you hit a certain price point, e-bikes are taking the lion's share of the bike sales. And there's only 36 and 9 women.
And put it this way, there's 12 different brands. I think there's 12 different e-bike brands on there. So 12 different team brands of different models of bikes. So it's 36 riders, 12. That means there's teams of 3. So just, technically it's getting less and less of a breakdown. There's less people going into this going, oh, I need to make a really competitive race bike.
So is that less than last year?
Yeah, I
And
think
the year
last
before?
year, let's have a quick look.
So this gives
Average was about 38, 39 last year.
So it
Between
is
rounds.
less.
So, yeah, marginally, but yes.
Marginally, and Finale is probably the most central location. It's easy to get to. It's not
It's
like
got
a mountain
dedicated
resort,
climbing trails.
Yeah.
They've really focused it on
and it's the
e-bikes.
opening round. So you would expect maybe this one to be the more popular round. And this every time I think about racing, I think about the ideas we shared on episode 1 about how to make racing a thing.
The Supercross.
Yeah,
Make
Supercross
this
ideas.
happen, baby. Let's
the
go.
Supercross arena style laps, like shoulder to shoulder
Hot
racing,
dogs in the stand, beer floating.
fireworks,
Beer.
like just more. I don't know. It's frustrating. It's annoying because
I think it's less about the song and dance of it, but more about the format and making it like we talked about, like weight differences. I think I know there's always a misrepresentation or like an imbalance of women versus men, but I think e-bike racing and the format it's currently at doesn't lend itself to a lighter rider or female riders for the most part. E-bikes aren't tailored that way, and I think that our format, the one we worked out last time, that's fair for everyone. That's the way it needs to
and
be.
I'd watch that. Like even if it wasn't an idea that we collectively came up with, I would watch something that was shoulder to shoulder racing, gnarly climb sections that you can overtake on, downhill sections that you can overtake on, big wide tracks that are easy to televise, that are short laps, short course, XC, gnarly e-bike racing style,
Yeah.
mass start, mega avalanche style.
the more I think about it, the more like, how do I set this up?
It goes to show that, I don't know, we're talking about now because race season has just started last weekend. It's just kicking off this weekend. There's loads of stuff on social media. There's loads of YouTube racers putting out content. So it's kind of the forefront. And I think it's a worthy topic. I think it's like, if you're into e-bike development, this is the cutting edge of e-bike development. It's where the Bosch race motor come from, the bigger batteries. All of these things are kind of contributing to what we end up getting when we buy our e-bikes.
Maybe we don't have the coverage of e-bike racing as we want it and as it is. But as the Rott Wild is the example of this is still the birth of super cool tech, and it's still competition and racing is still pushing the forefront of bike design. It's still pushing those extra few, those marginal gains. It's like the Bosch race limited edition motor, the performance line race limited edition motor that was birthed from racing, and it's those kind of things where it's cool. And I'd say that Rott Wild, I like the look of it. I if I was going to say dream bike,
Really?
Press the tones.
Go on.
The dream? Well, I actually think it's more of this bike. I'm not a fan. I think that chainstay looks a bit weird, that whole chainstay setup.
Gen Z guy, come on. You remember the old Commentator Meta, old frame design, massive swing arm, Orange had done it. Well,
Marin did something like that as well, didn't they?
Marin and Polygon.
Yeah,
Marin did the Wolf Ridge with the extra shock at the bottom.
What is the reason for that design, by the way? Is there...
Just looks sick.
Is it just looks? I mean, I understand what Will's saying. Like, the lines don't quite work. And then you've got the seat stay and the chain stay. And look at the small gap in between it. Look, it looks like it's...
I'm sure there's a reason for it. But the one thing I would like is that you get less chain slap, right? There'd probably be a bit less drivetrain noise. But I'm sure there's a much more technical reason of why they've done that.
I think it's... also, the position of the pivot is in front of the BB. There's also going to have like kinematic kind of implications of placements of bearings and pivots. And again, to your point of having a narrow gap in there, imagine you got a stone in between. That'd be really frustrating, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I have to say, if I looked at the press photos, under compression, it doesn't look as good because of the shape of it. But regardless, I think you've got I think as much as aesthetics play a key, does it ride well? Doesn't it? I think that's all that matters.
No, it's not. You need to look cool, bro.
I'm done with that. I don't look cool.
So talking about like you mentioned dream bike. What I'd like to know from both of you is, if you got a choice, right? I'm going to get your opinions on bikes. You get two bikes that you can choose. One is dream bike. So if you were to pick your dream bike out of anything in the world right now, has to exist, what would it be? Money, no object. And number two, if you were buying a bike with your own money right now, you're forced to buy a bike, like, you want to buy, not forced, you want to buy a new bike for 2024.
No, Rob, I can't afford it. Stop forcing me.
You're spending your own money. What bike would it be?
Can we do that one first? The realistic bike first, and then the dream bike second?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, why don't you kick us off, Will, with your realistic bike and then dream bike?
So I thought about it a little bit. Yeah, I got
for anyone who's listening,
notes.
he's got a full spreadsheet, a breakdown of all the bikes, pricing, spec.
No, but hey, I didn't go that far. Right, my realistic bike. I'm thinking you've both seen it. It's the new Alloy Atherton bike, the 170mm. I can't remember exactly. It's the
AM 170.
Yeah,
Is it?
Fair play. So. Like, you trump me on that. That's a super cool bike.
I think it seems. I mean, I haven't ridden it, so.
But is that affordable?
It's not bad. It's okay. It's sort of a rough. I think the cheapest spec one is around 5K, which is not
spec wise.
It's got like performance stuff.
Yeah,
performance Fox stuff.
It's not running NX or SX on the drive.
I think the cheapest one has got NX on, but I could be wrong. But I'd probably buy frame only and then build it up. But it seems pretty bomb-proof. Like, it looks bomb-proof. It's got really nice geo. It looks cool. Like, the colorway, it's in that raw. It's sort of that silver, right? Like brushed. Silvery grey. Yeah, brushed. Yeah,
loads of sizes as well.
Yeah.
Like I think there's like 40. I can't remember the number, but there's an insane amount of sizing that you can get.
It'll fit you then. Really long reach and really long chain stays. But that's cool. I think that bike stands. I prefer the aluminium Athertons look-wise to the carbon ones.
Yeah.
22 size configurations.
Sick.
22.
And it's not common either. I think one thing for me is I like something that's a bit flashy and like stands out from like, it's not like everyone has it. Like if you have, hopefully this is not what your choice is, but like a YT Capra or something, like it's so common, like you see it everywhere. Whereas this, I haven't seen one yet. I know it's only been released recently, but I don't think you'll see that many in the wild.
That is a really good choice, bike. Yeah.
You've stumped me there. And I think there's little things on that bike, like they use a grade of aluminium that isn't, I think it's 7075, that can't be welded, but it's got better characteristics for a bike. And now they're not welding it, pressing it in and gluing it. Perfect.
So frame only on that is 4,500, and then
really?
Yeah.
So it's not bad.
I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not like we're not talking 5 figures plus, are we? We're not talking like 10,000 plus.
No.
But frame only option.
Yeah, but full bike from 6,950. So
I thought it was less. That's the alloy one.
Oh no, sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, because I'm pretty sure it was like 4.5 for the cheapest build or something like that.
I was going to retract my realistic bike into.
No, let's whilst you're giving us your full price like dream bike, Adam, can you get us the actual price, not my, because that's a carbon lugged one that I just got you. So that's the more expensive one.
Yeah. So then my dream bike, I was thinking I'd like a downhill bike, I think. I think one that I've always admired but I've never owned has been a Santa Cruz V10, like the top spec Fox Factory Saint drivetrain. It's got a lot of history in the racing scene. Like I remember watching those OG Santa Cruz Syndicate, the series. I can't remember what exactly it was called.
Dial? No, that was Fox, wasn't it?
Was it even This Is PT? Oh no, what was it? It was something.
I know what you. Yeah, I know.
But like Josh Bryceland riding that bike, like being so steezy, and now they've got Jackson Goldstone and Laurie Greenland on them, and it's just like, whenever I see that bike being ridden, I just want to ride one, basically. But yeah, it is a lot of money, and it's not something that I would ever probably buy just because of the cost of it. But that is my dream bike.
That is a really
just a fast one.
I mean, you've got 2 really strong choices there. The V10. I love the V10 adjustability, the amount of stuff that you can do to tailor it. Reach adjust, lower link flip chip, rear axle chips as well to change a chainstay for anyone who wants to like really kind of tinker around and completely dial it in. But the rear linkage looks super cool.
Just a very quick one.
Go on.
4,800 for the S170 Enduro 0.3 from the Aston bikes, the base spec model, and that's
what, full build?
Domain,
4.8,
Super Deluxe coil, Super Deluxe Ultimate coil, which is quite interesting. NX drive chain and Hayes Domain. Hayes, is it Domain brakes? Yeah,
Dominion.
That's the one. Not Domain.
And what was the frame only? Do they do the frame only for the alloy?
Let's find out. I don't know.
So two strong choices.
2 non-e-bikes though on our e-bike podcast. That's the only thing.
You can be trying to chase us up the hills on your V10 like Dovey. You'll be on your V10. Adam will be on his 120, 130, 140 trail bike. XC bike.
150, 130.
150 fork, 130 rear at Dovey.
Honestly,
it
makes all the difference.
I'll be on my 26 kilo poly. We'll look like a right bunch of numpties, won't we? Like,
yeah, especially as you two be in the back was me whipping off lightning fast and
breaking your legs on the Oakley drop because you've got no travel out the rear.
So it's £2,799, Great British pounds for a frame only option. So
that's decent.
It's a great. I think it looks better than the carbon one for sure.
Yeah.
I love the lines on it, the angular look at the bottom as well.
And it's quite like it looks like this isn't me. This is a positive thing, so don't take this the wrong way. G, Dan, or Rachel, or any of the designers who get involved with this, but it looks a bit like scaffolding. Like if you look where the seat tube is, you've got all the bits that connect on. So you've kind of got the sleeve that goes over where the rocker link attaches to, and then you've got your sleeve, which is the top bit where the top tube attaches to. Do you get what I mean? I think that's quite cool. It looks like it's kind of like
I wouldn't ever say that it looks like scaffolding to anyone ever, but
now we've just done it to however many thousand people. So
should we talk
You've
about...
just done it.
Yeah, one person. Should we talk about your realistic bike and dream bike?
Myself.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. You really, I think we've working scale down. So price point affording kind of bike. I've said it again, and this is something that's maybe quite times, I feel like at the moment, and there's a Canyon Neuron on CF6, CF7. Sorry, not CF, what am I on about? CF8 or CF9, sorry. Mainly because the spec on it when you get to that point, but Pike Ultimates, 140, 130, I think, and it's a really fun bike. But the thing that I haven't seen many short travel aggressive geo bikes with a Bosch motor, which is a big thing for me, a 750 watt hour battery, and something that can kind of a full powered Bosch, not a lightweight short travel bike. It's a full powered short travel bike.
This one says only 22 point something kg, the one I was looking at then.
Yeah, it's still
good.
light-ish weight for
a full power. Yeah.
But it's not like they've now just come up with the Canyon Neuron on Fly with the Bosch SX motor, which is a much lighter. Initially, that's probably where you'd think it would be more aligned to if you look at Canyon's Neuron in their lineup anyway. So I just like that bike. I just really enjoy it. It's a fun bike. It's poppy. It's playful. And then if price point was no option, the Gas ECC6. Weird one.
With the SRAM powertrain.
SRAM powertrain, which is less of probably the driver towards it, but more battery size and suspension.
What is the price of this one?
This is €9,000 off the top of my head. I'll find out the exact price.
This one's
is 8,999.
It's nice. Is it got DVO suspension on
It's
that?
DVO suspension with WP dampers.
So it's the gas. What's the
ECC6.
ECC
It looks very different to the rest of the lineup.
6?
But the suspension is probably the thing that excites me the most.
Have you ridden it?
I've had a go on it. Yeah, I have. I think it looks amazing. And they've got, the thing that I wasn't that fussed on is they've got like what do they call them? Like the plastic.
Oh, the motocross lights inspired like plastics that you can take off and change.
Yeah,
like
I didn't like that. I thought that was like a really cheap gimmicky thing. But then I was
quite like that.
yeah.
Wait, what do you mean?
So
Like fenders and...
Yes.
Yeah, what
so
the hell?
it's like all the side bits. So you could get your Monster Energy, Rockstar Energy Super, like your Supercross track decals, bang it on there. You can get your saddle made up like it.
No, I like that. That's a really good idea, and that gives you full customization, like you can with motocross bikes. You can, all your different decals and things on there.
And you say full customization, it's aesthetic customization.
Yeah,
there's not really any performance gains with it.
No, but it looks cool, doesn't it?
And I just think it looks cool. It's different. It's got the spec I'd like on there, and it's just. I think like there's a point you made. I don't want something that everyone's got.
Yeah, no, I've only seen like one gas e-bike in the wild.
Yeah, and most of the others don't look nearly this good.
No, yeah.
They all look quite different. It's like the designer was quite different, and the whole SRAM powertrain thing was probably the big driver to get someone else in to do it as a big design. But anyway, that's my choices.
Nice. There's a couple of strong bikes there. Mine is... if I was to buy a bike now, I think it would be really difficult to look past the Strive On Underdog, Canyon Strive On. It's £4,749, which is basically a 170, 160 enduro bike with bang up to date geometry, the Bosch motor, mullet.
What's the battery size?
That is with the 625, but you can pay an additional £200 to upgrade to the 750. So the total price is $4,950
for the configuration you'd have out.
Yeah, but I think what you get for that is one of the best handling bikes, like e-bikes in the world right now.
That is on sale as well. They might not be that price all the time.
So normally that is $5,499. But what I've noticed on the Canyon site is they go on sale every few months, it seems. So I've seen regular sales. They're not all the time, but every now and again, they seem to do these 10-day sales or whatever. I don't know how long it is. But for $4,749, you get a very well-sorted e-bike with Fox 38, Fox, whatever that shock is. Is that an X2 performance maybe?
And let's not overlook, it's full carbon frame.
Full
if you're talking
carbon
like
frame.
10 years ago, and you it feels like we're not mentioning even frame material now because it's so like carbon, it's so like part of the vocabulary. But it's a full carbon frame.
DT Swiss wheel set.
Well, this is the price
Shimano
of
drivetrain.
This is the price of my realistic bike, but it's an e-bike.
So yes, your realistic bike is what was what
4.8 was the
4.8.
cheapest spec, wasn't it?
No, sorry.
Aluminium.
Cheapest spec was.
It was 4.8.
Yeah, it was 4.8.
4,000, and this is the same price,
Actually,
but with a
little bit cheaper.
motor, with a motor and a battery
And similar spec as well.
and
You
similar
say and a
spec,
motor and a battery, like it's just not going to include the battery. Like it's got a motor but no battery.
and it's carbon. So yeah, I think that value for money is like outstanding. And the bike rides really well. It's not just good value for money. It's a really decent bike. I owned the Canyon Strive, the next one up, but I think for the money, that's really, really good.
Yeah, I tried the Spectral, the Drive, and the Torque, and it rides very differently. I'd say that the Spectral and the Torque have similarities in their characteristics, like short back end, low bottom brackets. Drive's completely different, and it sets itself apart. I think it's really standoutly different.
What was it? Your favourite amongst those three that you rode?
Yeah, out of those three for sure. It was on par with the Neuron. I found like the Neuron. It's almost like they missed out over like your XC bike and your enduro bike are paired up, and then your trail bike and your free ride bike are paired up. It's like kind of missing a gap out. But I found that the Neuron one was that kind of quite quick, quite rampy, high BB, gave you a good position. Didn't feel like you were just going to crank strike. That's my kind of indicator of whether I like a bike or not because of the geometry. It just felt good, felt dialed.
Yeah, I agree. I love riding that, and that for sure for me. And then dream bike would be
Sorry, I keep missing the tones.
Dream bike would be the Crestline RS 180 EB, or RS 180 as it's called, which is a 180 travel carbon framed Bosch powered e-bike with few customization options. You can run it as a mullet, you can run it as a 29, you can change your travel out the back between 180, 163. It's a great build, good geometry. You can run it with a coil, you can run it with air. It's got the VPP, so it looks a bit like Santa Cruz-esque.
Glad you mentioned that.
Santa Cruz, the pattern expired on the VPP, so lots of brands can now use that, much like the Horse Link from Specialized. Lots of brands use that, and I think initially when it came out, everyone was like, it looks like a Santa Cruz with a Bosch motor.
I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean,
I genuinely thought it was.
Not a bad thing, maybe.
No.
But I've ridden it in the UK, Italy, took it over to the US, and I'm going to build up another one in a slightly different configuration this year for a video.
Wait, hold on a minute. So we're talking about dream bikes. You're the only one that not only owns your dream bike, but is about to own two of your dream bikes.
You say own, they're not my bikes. So I get the opportunity to build them up for videos and there's some new stuff coming out product wise over the next couple of months, and I'm going to use that bike to test these products and make video, because I need like something to build onto, and this bike is a bike that I really enjoy. And I say dream bike because it's really expensive. So it's £11,999, which I completely understand how much money that is. You could buy nearly 3 Canyon bikes for it, and it's not 3 times better. Like no way. Yeah. But there are some improvements in it, specifically around like chainstay length. Now they do different lengths. You laugh, but it makes a big difference. Man,
Always with the chainstay.
I'm a tall guy, man. I'm 1.91 m. Like we'll cover it on another show, but we'll talk about ratios and front to rear biases, because it does make a difference, especially on climbing and cornering. But anyway, you can have a different link to make the chainstay longer out the rear. So it's like a real enthusiast bike.
Agreed.
As opposed to the Strive-On, that is, you get it as no flip chips at all, and that's fine. Yeah. But you can't do any adjustments at all.
I said this I think it was the last episode we did, is like, do you need to? And the question is like, with all that adjustment, it's kind of where do you set and forget? On the Crestline specifically, with that bike?
Never. Because I always like to try and...
but talking about spec, because you said it's 180 on the back, 163. Okay. Where does your preference lie? Because we're talking one dream bike. Like I really like the hybridizer, got a load of adjustment. I kind of say I like it mullet or this or that. Yeah. What is your dream setup?
Did you say
I was thinking I was overusing it a bit, so I was going to stop doing it with this one, but-
Tones are.
Okay,
If
hold
the
on.
tones get too much, we're recording them on a separate track, so you can just mute them, and it'll just be a really weird, awkward silence. But dream spec would be my dream one would be 180, 180
Yep.
with a 455 to 460 chainstay and mullet.
450 to 460.
Sorry, 455 to 460 chainstay.
Does it come with?
Yeah, you can. I'm getting a few different links, so I can run it between 450, 455, and 460.
Okay, so you haven't decided whether it's 455 or
I'm
460.
gonna test
yet, 'cause
it.
Okay, that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah,
I was
so-
like, you can't just be like, oh, I'll have two of them.
Yeah,
but
but
no,
I'm
it's fine.
converted to mullet now. Like originally, I didn't like the mullets because the reason for mullet that from a lot of the bike brands was to create the really short rear.
Yeah.
And I found them like really light out the front unless I put in loads of body language. You'll see on the video on the Your Bear Rise, lots of people say, dude, why are you climbing with the seat so low? You look really weird. And yes, it does. But my center of gravity is way lower and more central on the bike. As soon as you start raising the saddle, you're sat more over the rear wheel with a bike with a shorter chainstay, or I am for sure. And then what the front wants to lift. So, so I'm converted more to a mullet, but the chainstay has to be long enough for it to feel balanced.
So it's just going to look like a rudder on a boat. It's going to be like this really long thing with a tiny wheel on the back, just to catch you up. But I think it's a valid point. I think I think it's quite admirable that you've really questioned that and delved into it and been really conscious of that. Because normally it's just like get on a bike, ride it, see how we go. Do I like it? Do I don't? Rather than try and overanalyze it, and not overanalyze it, but try to analyze it too much.
It's the job. It's the channel.
Well, I think with the whole chainstay thing, like there's definitely not one size fits all, and most brands do a one size fits all rear end. Some are going slightly bigger on the rear, like when the bike goes up, but not proportionally. So like physics dictates that if you just keep the rear the same and grow the front, that the balance point for taller riders is going to be totally different with the weight placed in the same position, right? So I find with a short chainstay, they're very hard to keep the front down and much harder for me to corner. So you see my like weight really. Will and I were editing a video that's coming out soon, and you can see my weight placement so far over the front because I'm trying to get weight on the front wheel, and it looks really odd, and it feels like kind of odd. I want more of a neutral balance feeling, and my like 460 chainstay is probably the equivalent of a small bike having a 440.
Do you think that comes down to that? The guy who designed it, the bike was based around a medium, for example, and they just haven't really scaled up? Or do you think people want a short back end?
No.
Or it feels like the industry's going,
I
keep
think
a short
it comes
back
down
end.
to one thing, and it's cost.
Yeah.
It costs way more to have multiple molds for rears,
Very true.
package them. It comes purely down to that, I think. So, but it's good to see taking it back to Crestline. It's good to see them giving different options, and they don't have they have two different rear chainstays, and they can do the rest with links. So the link moves and grows, and that's what grows the rear center. So
It's quite cool. We've talked about the World Cup racing, and now the new 2S has come out, and that's got a 29er MX flip chip, so you can put 27.5-inch rear in the wheel, or a rear wheel in, or 29-inch rear wheel. I think there's a lot of brands doing that. I think that's quite cool.
You don't feel like choosing that as your dream bike?
Nah. No, it's a really nice bike, don't get me wrong. I still think the look of it hasn't really changed. It's kind of how I felt about the Capra. It was like, new Capra coming out. Oh, it looks really similar to before. But riding it's changed.
here's a question for you: how many years will YT go with the original decoy? And do you think we'll get a new decoy out really soon? And
Well,
I say
this
that
is
with
a
the greatest
call-out.
respect because
Yeah.
the bike's brilliant,
Oh, it's way ahead
and I'm
of its
trying to get
time.
rumours from you.
No, I think like it's the baseline of my e-bikes. Like it is the standard. Like if I had to fall back on anything, I know that bike so well, and it's a great bike still to this day. But,
I think
it
it's
came
really
out in
good.
2019, so we're talking like frame design is pretty much we're talking 5 years down the line now.
Wasn't it so ahead of its time when it came out as well?
Yeah, because that was when we had like external batteries, like I say,
Yeah.
external batteries for lack of a better word, like the kind of you'd get them on the top of the down tube and things like that. And then the decoy is the first one where it was integrated, but it wasn't properly integrated. It was their own proprietary battery. geometry numbers, the whole way of the look, the whole look of the bike was way ahead of its time.
It still looks really good now. We saw one in where we were filming yesterday, didn't we? And they look really cool. They ride really cool. There's lots of big, massive fans of it. Like I think they've done a great job with it. And I would love to see the progression to the next model.
I'm worried that it's going to be the same thing of like, new one's coming out. Oh, it hasn't changed that much. They'll change the geo numbers, but I think maybe the frame design won't much change. But
we should revisit this.
They've got to do it this year.
Within the next 12 months, I'm hopeful we'll see a new decoy.
I'm praying and hoping we'll see a new decoy. Because that's the last one on the lineup.
So it was really cool to hear your dream bikes. We had some good selections there. Some real varied selections of dream bikes.
Yeah, it's quite diverse. I thought it was good. Good range of travel. Good range of non-e-bikes.
Yeah.
I think your choice was the best, probably Will.
Yeah, Will.
What do I win?
Even though
do I win the bike?
Yeah, Afton's going to be in contact to sort you out with your bike and gas. It's already in the post, apparently. So
you didn't guess the weight, but you still get this Connect module for your non-e-bike.
Hold on.
You now have a GPS drive.
It's mine. Give it back.
This weighs about, banana peel?
Say about there.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more e-bike content, and we'll see you back with a Recharge podcast next Sunday. Cheers.
Bye.
See ya.